Hi everyone, welcome to this session. I hope the audio and video quality is good. Maybe let's wait a few more seconds and we can get started. Meanwhile, if you are new to this meetup, you can join our Slack. You can go to meetup.com and you can find our link. There you will find some email to join. You can send us an email and you will get this Slack access. I'm quickly checking if the audio is good. You will find some. Yep, it looks good. Yeah, I can continue with this. So in today's session, what we are going to do is we are going to learn how to use OpenAI Assistants Library, Assistants API. So we will be building a interesting project. In that project, you will just input like what city you want to visit. For example, let's say you want to visit Kyoto. You just type Kyoto and you can talk about your preference. For example, you can say, I love to visit temples and I want to see some other places like eating places and few other things like your own preference. Then what it does is it also inputs the date you are planning to visit. Then it uses Open Weather API to find how the weather looks like on that particular date. Then it will create a map. In that map, you will see some dots. These are the 10 places it recommends you to visit in that city. If you see something as blue, which means the weather is good. If you see something as red, which means it's going to be raining on that particular date. Then it will also create a travel guide, a Word document for you. In that Word document, it will talk about the city and few other places. Like it says Fushimi Inari Taisha. On that particular date, the weather is 7.45 degree and overcast clouds, humidity is 77%. And it will quickly talk about what this place is for. It's famous for its 1,000 of Vermilion Torii gates, which straddle network of trails behind its main buildings. I hope this is helpful. So we will be building this in this session. So before that, so there are some code that we are going to write product focused, which I'm going to copy paste. And then when we are going to build our own Assistants API, I will talk about different things in Assistants and we will write code together. Also, in this blog post, you can find all the code. You can also copy and you can also run the code. Thanks, Tim. Okay, so if you are very new to OpenAI, you can go to platform.openai.com. You can create a secret key here. If you click create secret key, you can type something and you will see some key. Then what you have to do is you can go to your code base. In your code base, you have to create a .environment file. In that .environment file, you can paste your key. For example, the .environment file looks like this: OpenAI_API key. Here you can paste your API key that you got from platform.openai.com. So once that's done, I'm going to write some code. So I'll be copy pasting a few code that's product specific because that's not a goal for this session. For example, we can write some function that takes some city and you will get some coordinates. Maybe let me show you that. So if you see this one, here I'm getting the place name as an input, Sydney. Then our function will return the geolocation of that place. Then we are going to create one more function that takes place name or geolocation. Then you will see the current weather or weather forecast in that date. It also takes date as an input. For example, Sydney, February 2nd. and you will see the weather forecast on that particular date, on that particular place. Then there is one more function, creating city map. So in creating city map, it takes a city name, which is Kyoto. Then it will take 10 different locations in that place. Then it also takes weather information. For example, let's say it's raining, it will take this as yes. If it's not raining, it will take that as no. Then it will create a map. The map looks like this. So I'll be copy pasting those functions. Then after that, we will start learning OpenAI assistants. Then we will create an assistant. Actually, we are going to create a multiple assistant that's aiming for a specified task. Then we will try to combine those assistants and build this project. Cool. So here what I have done is I have imported some basic libraries mostly related to OpenAI, and this .environment file, it loads .environment from your folder. Then you will see some other display like ipython.display. This is for HTML markdown displays, and time and plotly for visualization. Yep, I have created that. Also, maybe let me talk about this one. You can also check your OpenAI version. I recommend any version greater than 1.7.0. So here I have used one of the recent one, 1.10. You can also use the recent one. You can just type pip install OpenAI upgrade. If you run this, it will install the latest one, which is 1.10, I believe. Cool. Now I'm going to write one more function, get coordinates. This get coordinates takes some place name and city name as an input. Then it returns the latitude and longitude of that location. Let's run this. Okay. Then there is one more function. You can see it here. The third function is creating city map. So in creating city map, you will see it takes a city name and it takes attractions, which is a list. Then it takes is rainy, which is also a list. Then it will plot everything in the map. If is rainy is yes, you will see a red color. Otherwise, you will see a blue color. Then we are also marking all the places. If you zoom in, you will see the places are written in black, like Arashiyama, Bamboo Grove, Gion, Jingaku-ji. So you will see those things too. So let's run this. Yep. So here I have passed a few input, which is city name is London. Then attractions, I passed 3 attraction as a list. It uses geolocation to find its coordinates. You can see get coordinates function. Here London, and we have passed each area like London I. Then you will get the geolocation. Then it plots. If it's yes, you will see yes in red. Otherwise, everything is blue. So this is how we create a map. Cool. So now what we are going to do is we are going to start working on the project specific one more function like get weather. Maybe let me copy paste that function too. Okay, so this function get weather, it takes some location and date, then weather information in unit, then use coordinates. If you know the coordinates, you can say this is true and you can pass the coordinates as a location. Otherwise, you can just pass city name as a location. For example, let's say you just know the city name and you don't know the coordinates. You can just say Sydney. Let's say you know the coordinates, but you don't know the city name. You can just say you can pass coordinates as a tuple. Cool. Kyoto, let's use today's information, maybe tomorrow. So tomorrow at Kyoto, the temperature is 9.67 and humidity is 85. Description, it's gonna light rain. It's gonna rain. Cool. So let me test a few other things. So here we just passed city name. Here what we are going to do is we are going to pass the coordinates. So on this place, Fushimi Inari Taisha Shrine, Kyoto, we want to know how's weather in this place on tomorrow. So 2. Okay. So tomorrow in this place, the temperature is 8.9. Overall in Kyoto it's 9.6, but here this is a little bit cooler, 8.9. And it's even this place, it's gonna light rain. It says light rain. Yeah, this looks good. Cool. So now what we are going to do is we are going to create an assistant. So let's talk about that. In this project, we'll be using city as Kyoto, and we are going to create an assistant. So normally in chat completion models, you just ask some questions and you will get some output. So chat completion models don't have access to tools. For example, let's say you want to know, you are asking like what's weather information in Kyoto. It says it doesn't know about that because it doesn't know about weather information on Kyoto on some particular date because it's not in the training data. So it doesn't know about that. But with assistants, what's happening here is in assistants, we can have some instructions which acts like a system message. Then we can connect models. With assistant, we can connect 3 different models like GPT 3.5 Turbo 1106, GPT 4 1106 preview. We can also connect a recent model. I think recently they introduced 0125. You can also use that. Then if you have some fine-tuned models, you can also use that one. So with assistant, we can connect instructions, models, and some tools. Currently with assistants, you can connect 128 tools. In tools, we can do few other things like code interpreter. We can make an assistant to run some code. Then retrieval. Let's say you got some large volume of documents and you want to question those documents. We can pass those information as a retrieval. Then function calling. With function calling, you can bring your own functions. For example, let's say you're working for retail and you got some customer support questions related to product return. And in that case, ChatGPT or other models don't have any information on what your user created, like purchased. In that scenario, you can use function calling to call your database and get some response. Let me quickly check my internet. Yep, it looks good. It's keep loading, so a little bit worried. Cool. Okay. Also, in assistants, we can pass some files. Each assistant can have like 20 files at maximum. Each file can have like 512 MB and 2 million tokens. That's the maximum limit. So with assistants, it's very powerful because it has instructions, models, tools, and files. So with that, we'll be creating some powerful assistants. So first of all, we will focus more on function calling because we have already created a few functions, like 4 or 5 functions. We are going to use those functions in our assistant. So how to do that is we define functions first, then we convert those functions to JSON, then JSON details to assistants. We create a JSON, Then we pass JSON details to the assistants as a tool. Then assistants ask us to call the function with the input details. So what's happening here is assistants cannot call the functions directly. It will just ask you to call the function by giving you the function name and arguments to pass. So that's very helpful. So let's do that first. Then we will focus on other things. So I'm going to create some JSON for each function we have developed. Good. So our first function is get coordinates. You can see a function name get coordinates, and it has two parameters, place name and city name, and both the parameters are required. So which means it's not an optional, we need both information to get some output. So let's convert that function to JSON. So I will copy paste first, then I will talk about that. Okay. So if you see this one, get coordinates JSON, the type is function. In the function, we have some name, which is get coordinates. We can use any name, but if you use the same name, it will be easy for you. Then you will write some descriptions. This fetches coordinates of a place using nominating API, which comes from weather API. Then the parameters are place name and city name. Place name, which is a string, and there is a description for the place name, which is the name of the specific place. Then another parameter is city name. That's also a string, and it has also a description. Then both the arguments are required. That's why we need both as a list. So let's run this. Okay. So similarly, I'm going to copy paste the JSON for other functions. So this is create city map. You can see it has a name, description. In the properties, you will see city name, attractions, is rainy, those three parameters, and those three parameters are needed for creating a map. So we pass 3 as required. Then yeah, this is easy one. Let's run this. Then the last one, get weather JSON. So if you see this one, get weather JSON, get weather function. Here we need any one of location. Like for example, let's say if you know the city name, you can just pass the city name as a string, the location name for which weather information is required. Then let's say if you don't know the city name, but if you somehow got the coordinates, you can just pass the latitude and longitude information, which is an array, and you can have any one of those. So that's why it's one of. Then date, which is a string, that's in this format. Then unit, it could be any one of metric or imperial, that's why it's enum. Then use coordinates, this is boolean, it can be true or false. So to create a map, we need 3 information: location, date, use coordinates. Cool. So we have created 3 JSON. Now I'm going to create a dictionary that has some name, and we will pass this information like function information. So available functions. Get coordinates. So I'm going to just use the function name, create city map, and get weather. So this looks good. Okay. So now we are going to create tools. Let me check Slack. Okay. So the question is, would you use an AI assistant to convert the definition to JSON? No, we cannot use assistant to do that. We will define ourselves and we will do that. So how I created this one is, let's say I didn't write everything myself. I have written this for only one function. Then I use ChatGPT to do the rest. For example, in the ChatGPT, I pasted this function. Then I told how to convert that to JSON. This one is easy. I have written this one. Then I pasted this one. Then for this function, And for the second function, I use ChatGPT. I just passed the function definition and I got the JSON. So does this notebook work in Colab? Yes, this works in Colab, but you have to add the .environment file there. Yeah, so I also tried to use Colab. It worked. You have to add .environment file. You can create a file in the folder structure. Cool. Okay, so let's continue. So far what we have done is we have created the JSON details to, sorry, we just created converted function to JSON. Now we are going to pass this JSON details to assistants. So let's do that. So we are going to create tools, get coordinates JSON, then create city map JSON, get weather JSON, and I'm going to also include code interpreter. As I have talked about this here, code interpreter is useful to run some code inside assistant. So you don't have to run some code. Like let's say you want to convert some text to document. You don't have to do that. You can just ask your assistant to do that. Assistant will write code internally and it will execute everything. Then it will give you a file. So that's very helpful. So we are going to do that. So another tool is type. Code interpreter. Okay, so this looks good. So now I'm going to create some instruction to the assistant. So as I told before, instructions are like a system message. So that defines what this assistant is going to do, what's its goal, what are the things it can do, those kind of things. So let's copy paste. So here I just said you are a personal travel assistant. You use your available functions to help your user plan their trip. Create inputs to the functions carefully. If you could not find the available functions, you can use your own knowledge to help your user. Sometimes you have to use parallel functions to get the desired output. So these are some of the instructions I typed. You can read through it from my blog. Okay, so there is a typo in the first code block. The line client equal to OpenAI needs to be moved after OpenAI.api key. Yeah, this is good. Also, it works like this because we are incorporating everything from .environment file. .environment file has OpenAI API key, then it uses that. Currently, when running everything from top to bottom, we didn't get any error. Also, you can do in this way too. Thanks, Slade. Cool. So instructions, this is done. Okay, so now I'm going to create an assistant. Assistant equal to client dot beta. So currently assistants are in beta, but after a few months it will be in normal client. You don't have to use beta. You can just use client dot assistants dot create. Then assistant has some name. Travel assistant. Then instructions. You can pass the instructions we have typed. Then tools. We can pass the tools. Then model. GPT-4. Turbo preview. I think this is the very recent model they introduced like last week. Let me use this. Okay. So if you go through my blog, you will find, sorry. So you will find GPT-4 1106 preview, but very recently they introduced a new one, GPT-4 Turbo preview. So with that, You don't have to pass the date information. If you use GPT-4 Turbo Preview, it will always use the latest model. I think you can find those information in the documentations, API reference, maybe chat completion. This one, GPT-4 Turbo Preview. This is the recent model they introduced like last week. Cool. I'm using that. Then response. So we have created an assistant. So now what I'm going to do is, before using assistant, I'm going to use chat completion model and ask some questions and try to get some response. Then you will know the power of using assistants. So response client.chat.completions.create model equal to GPT-4 Turbo Preview, then messages, role, user, then content. So I'm just asking what's today's date, return date in year, month, date format in JSON. Cool. Then response format. So this is very new. I think they introduced like few months ago, 1 or 2 months ago. Response format, you can particularly say you want a JSON. To do that, response format equal to type colon JSON object. Okay, so this won't work if you don't mention JSON here. Let's say I'm going to delete JSON. If you run this, you will get an error message. 1 second. This is another error. Okay, I need to close the function. No. So client create model GPT-4 preview, messages. In the messages we have role, user, comma, content, what's today's date, return, this is good, then comma, response format equal to, this is good. Oh, sorry, I couldn't figure it out. So response client, this is good, create. Okay, so model. Okay, I found it. So this should be outside the messages. Yep, it's very subtle. Okay, so this looks good. So if you run this, you will get an error message. It says messages must contain the word JSON in some form to use response format of type JSON object. So the point is, let's say you want the output as JSON object, you have to mention the word JSON somehow in your content. JSON format, it will work. Cool. So now let's print the response. Let's print the response. So it says today's date is 2023 April 26, which is completely wrong because chat completion model don't have access to internet, or it cannot run any Python code, so it have no idea what's happening now. So this is the main drawback of chat completions, and there are a few other drawbacks, but let's focus on assistants. Now I'm going to use assistant, and I will ask the same question. You will get a response because it has access to code interpreter. It will run some Python code to find system date, then you will get some response. Before that, let me quickly check the Slack. Okay. So getting an error, citymap.write image, city image export using the Kaleido engine requires the Kaleido package. Yes, I tried installing Kaleido, but still getting the error. Even I had the same issue. Once you install the library, you have to restart and you have to run top to bottom. Then it should work. Let me show you that. I think I commented that some. Yeah. So you have to install this one, pip install update Kaleido. Then once this is done, you have to restart and run top to bottom. Then you will see the output. Let me know if it didn't work. For me, it worked. Thanks, team. Cool. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to use our assistant. To use an assistant, we have to create a thread first. Threads are like a conversation window. For example, if you go to ChatGPT, if you create a new message, you will see a blank window and you can ask a lot of questions. You will ask some question, then the assistant will respond some other answer. Then you can ask one more question, then you will get some more response. So this process is called thread. So thread is like a conversation window. With that, you can communicate with the assistant. So OpenAI recommends creating one thread per user as soon as they start to use our product. And we can pass user-specific context and files to the conversation by creating messages. So in that thread, we will create a message, then we can attach the message to a thread. And currently there is no size limit. We can create unlimited number of messages in a thread. OpenAI model will somehow truncate and it will keep only the relevant information for your questions. So the context is maintained by assistants. We don't have to worry about that. But the problem is cost. Let's say you have huge volume of context. It always passes the maximum context for better response. So that's an issue. So we have to pay for each token. So it's going to be a little bit expensive. But currently it's the case. But in future, they are planning to optimize those. Also, you can see all the assistant and thread information on the platform. So I will show you how to do that. Maybe before that, let's create a thread. Okay, so before creating a thread, okay, let's create a thread first. Okay, so creating thread is very easy. Thread equal to client.beta.threads.create. That's it. So thread.model dump. If you do that, you'll see how the thread object looks like. It has some ID and it's created some timestamp. Metadata, it's null. Then object thread. Cool. So now I'm going to create a message. So in that message, we can attach a thread. So this is my message. In that message, what I have done is client.beta.threads.messages.create. Then I pass some thread ID. Then it knows I have to attach some particular message in some particular thread. And role, which is user. So what I'm saying is I'm planning to visit the city today and would appreciate detailed information about the city. Then please provide an overview of the location, 20 to 30 words each, and list the top 10 tourist attractions. Additionally, kindly organize the attractions in a sequence that facilitates and efficient visiting route. Attractions focus preferences. You can also include your preferences. So I am including my preferences as temples, gardens, museums, and food. Okay, so now I have created a message. We have created a message, but our assistant don't know about that we created a message, because message has only thread ID and there is no way we include assistant details here. But what we can do is, the concept is, there is one more thing called a run. So run, what's happening there is, assistant reads the thread and decide whether to use any tools or just models. So in run, we connect our message along with an assistant. Then it processes everything. Then you will get some output. The output are stored in in thread. So since thread is like a conversation window, you ask some question, then during run, it processes everything. It won't return anything to you. It will directly append the response to the thread. So that's important. So you will see append messages to the thread with role assistant. So assistant will automatically decide what previous messages to include as a context to the model. So you don't have to worry about context. So assistants will capture this one. Also, we can override assistant's instructions by passing instructions on runs. So runs also has instructions. You can customize the instructions on there too. And important thing is, runs are asynchronous, which means you just create and run and you can continue doing some other task. You don't have to wait until it finishes. Then what you can do is, you can keep on checking if needed. Since assistants are async, you can create a run, then you retrieve the run and you can check the status of the run. Initially run are like queued, then it's in progress. Sometimes it's completed. Sometimes it will ask you to call some function and get some response. If that's the case, the status will be requires action. There are a few other actions too, like expired, cancelled, and failed. There are a few other status. So mostly you will be seeing like queued, completed, in progress, requires action. These four are important status. Okay. So with this, let's create a run. Before that, quickly checking Slack. So transform failed with error code, map box error. Let's copy. Maybe you can also update your Plotly library and see if that fixes the issue. Hi Tim, maybe just update your Plotly library and see if that fixes it. Otherwise, I can spend some time after the session to figure it out. So Leo's question, so is the assistant an object in the code or is it an API to call? So assistants or an API, that's a module from OpenAI, which is very similar to chat completion, but assistant can access to tools, functions, files, and few other things. So assistants are very powerful compared to chat completion models. Chat completion models just take some input and you will get some response. But with assistant, it's like an object that has model, files, tools like code interpreter, retrieval, and function calling. So that's very powerful compared to chat completion. So you can find more information here. Assistants. So the API is this one, assistants. Thanks, Leo. Okay, so now we are going to create a run. We have created a messages. So we have to create a run to pass the thread and assistant together. Run equal to client.beta.threads.runs.create. You have to mention the thread ID. Then you have to mention the assistant ID. Okay. So the run is submitted. You won't get any response, but you can check the status and you can retrieve and check the status a few other times. So currently this is in queue. So now I'm going to retrieve the run one more time and check the status. So currently this is in progress. Since this is in progress, we can write some while loop and check the progress every 5 seconds. Okay, it says we are going to call a function. It didn't respond to the output. It's not completed yet. We have to call a function and we will pass the response of the function to the assistant. Then it will goes to the completed stage. But before that, let's display what's happening there. I will try to retrieve the messages. So messages has threads has messages.list. If you do that, you will retrieve all the messages. Then I'm going to display the 0th index messages, which is the recent message. So it says the current date is Jan 31st, 2024. Since assistant has access to code interpreter, it found the correct date correctly, but previously chat completion failed to do that. Then Kyoto is located some definition. Then it displays 10 places based on our preferences. Now let's proceed to get current weather forecast for each attraction to aid in planning your visit. Since this is what it says, you can see a few other things like run.required action. Since the status is requires action, run object has required action .submit tools.tool calls. If you run this, it will tell you we have to call these functions ourselves. Then we pass the response to the model. What are the functions are? The first function, get weather. It says in call get weather function with these arguments. The arguments are some location, some date, use coordinates equal to false. If you call these information in get weather, you will get some response. Then we can pass the response to the model. So let's write some code for that. So what's happening here is if run.status equal to requires action, I have a list called tool outputs. Then for each function calling, for call in run.required action.submit tools.tool calls, we will get the function name. How to get that is, if you see the first one, you will see the call has a function, which is here. This function has a name. This is how you get the function name. Then you will get the real function using the dictionary we created, because this function name is a string, but we have to get the real function so that we can pass some values to the function and get some response. We have already created a dictionary. So you will see the dictionary at the top, available functions, get weather, you will get the real function get weather. Cool. Then arguments, the arguments are stored here, arguments, which is a string, but we can convert that string to dictionary using json.loads. Then we can pass those arguments to the function. You will get some output. Then you will create a dictionary with tool call ID. Each function calling has some ID. The ID looks like this. Then you will get the output, and you have keys as tool call ID and output. Then you append the results to tool outputs. Once this is done, you will create one more run, client.beta.threads.runs.submit tool outputs. Here you just pass the thread ID, run ID, and you submit all the tool outputs. So what's happening here is, since our assistant asking us to create calling some function, we call all the function ourselves, we get the response. Once the response is ready, we create one more run and saying, I have done this and these are the outputs. Let's run this. Once that's done, the run, we are checking the status. If it's queued or in progress, we wait every 5 seconds and see what's happening next. Okay, so upgrading Plotly from 5.15.0 to 5.18.0 fix the problem. Thanks, Tim, which is very helpful for others. Okay, so now this is completed. Cool. A second. So let's retrieve the message and see what happened there. Okay, so we get some response. We can use model dump to see everything more clear. So this is so it says, it seems there was an issue retrieving the current weather forecast for specific attraction in Kyoto due to limitations in the weather data retrieval. However, Kyoto generally experiences cool or cold temperature around January, and it's advised to be prepared for potential rain or even snow, especially in the early part of the year. Layers are recommended, as well as umbrella or raincoat for outdoor activities. Despite the lack of specific weather forecast, I hope the outlined route and the focus on temples, gardens, museums, and food give you a good foundation for planning an enriching visit to Kyoto. Okay, maybe let's quickly rerun this one more time and see why the weather information did not pass any output. Maybe let's quickly check the tool outputs. Okay. In tool outputs, not found for URL. Okay, it says city not found. So let's check our get weather JSON. So get weather JSON, we pass city as string, which is correct, and we pass some date and unit metric, which is good. Okay, maybe let me try myself. Kyoto, use coordinates equal to false, date 01/31. Okay, so here we are definitely getting some response. Maybe let's rerun one more time. We create a new thread. So it will take like 20 seconds. So while it's running, let me quickly check. Okay, looks good. It's interesting to debug in live. So while it's running, let me show you a few other things. Maybe let's quickly check this one. It says request action and it responds something. Now it created these function, place, use coordinates, sorting, in progress, in progress. Okay, request action, which is correct. Now let's check the tool output. Even now, the tool output is not working very well. Let me check. So let's manually call this get weather. Location equal to this one. And date. And use coordinates equal to false. Okay, let's run this. Sorry. So not found for URL, that one. So what's happening here is something wrong happening. Maybe let's check 0201, not found. So get weather function, let's debug this. Okay, get weather. We pass some location, which is a string, which is correct. Then date, which is correct. Then unit, it could be metric. Okay, So let's check the get weather function one more time. So get weather, some place name. Okay, maybe let's run this and see what's happened. Sometimes our assistant will figure it out automatically, saying, let's run this. So if something went wrong, the assistant will try to figure it out automatically. Then it will ask us to create a few other functions. Then it will pass the arguments for that function as well. So let's see if it's fixing automatically, which is interesting to see. Okay, it says request action. Maybe let's check what action it's asking us to do. Okay, it's asking us to call some function with coordinates, use coordinates, get weather. Yeah, so this is very interesting. Previously, our get weather function failed because it could not use the location by using this format. Now our assistant figured it out automatically. Now it's asking us to call the function with some coordinates. So this is super interesting. So it provided coordinates for each location. Then we will call the function and we will pass the results. So let's do that. Request action, we are doing the same thing. Since this is for teaching, I have put in this way, like so many if and seeing the output. But in production, I just do a while loop. In the while loop, I continuously run everything as I go. So I don't see all the outputs. I just try to get the outputs overall. Okay, it says it's completed. Now let's check the messages. Maybe let's do model dump. You will see the first message, given the weather condition locations of the attraction, it is recommended. Okay, it has completed everything. Now let's check the output. Okay, so these are the suggestions it has provided for us. Cool. So now we are going to create a Word document with all the details. But before that, it failed to create a map. Maybe what we can do is we can ask it to create a map first, then we will do the rest. So our messages is, let me copy paste. Okay, so copy pasted. So content, create a map with all the attractions and include weather information in it. Okay, so let's run this. Let's check, and let's do this one. Second. So I'm writing a while loop. In this while loop, I'm checking what's happening. It says it requires action, which is good. Now let's see what function it's asking us to call. Okay, it's asking us to call this function, create city map function, and you can see for some area blue, some area red. Maybe let's run that. Okay, so this is the map. I think it made a small mistake. It has to be yes or no, not red or blue. So what we can do is, maybe I noticed this a few times. Sometimes it confuses between yes and no, and sometimes it confuses between red and blue. If you go through my function, create city map, okay, so here I feel like it's my mistake. Here I should have explicitly say yes or no. Use only yes or no. So if I do that, everything will be fine. But for now, let's keep it in this way. Otherwise, what we can do is we can change our function, display map function, instead of, one second, yeah, instead of yes or no, we can say red or blue. That also works. So maybe for simplicity, let me keep in this way, but you know what went wrong and how to fix that. Cool. Okay, it's completed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one more assistant. That assistant is specialized in creating Word document. Let's do that. So before that, let's save this image. City file, I saved. Okay, so now I'm going to create a file, city file, client.files.create. Then I open the map. Then the purpose is assistants. This is how you create a file, and you can pause this file in an assistant. So now we are going to create a new assistant. New assistant for Word documents. So in that new assistant, I said travel guide Word document creator assistant. You are a helpful assistant that creates Word document with useful information about the city. Then explaining each attractions, arranging in easy order to travel, include weather details, map, PNG file, etc. And tools, I have provided code interpreter. Then I have provided the files, which is cityfile.id. We can also use GPT-4 Turbo preview. Let's run this. So we created a new assistant. So now I'm going to create a message. In that message, I say create a Word document with a PNG file, this one, and include all the helpful details and information about each attractions, 20 to 30 words each. Let's run this. We have created a message. Once we create a message, we have to create a run. Then we can retrieve the run and check progress. So here I am created a run. Run won't give you any output because runs are asynchronous. Now I'm going to retrieve the run. To retrieve the run, you just use threads.runs.retrieve. we retrieve the run, then we can check the status. If the status is queued or in progress, we will print, or once it's done, you will see the output. So creating Word document takes time, like 1 to 2 minutes. Let's run this. We have to wait 2 to 3 minutes. I think we are very close. Okay, so I have pasted a few more function to convert the file, download the file from Assistant and save it local. So we can do in this way. So how to do that is, so once this is done, you can retrieve the messages. You know that the first message is the recent message, but in chat completion, the first message is the last message. But in Assistant, the first message is the recent message. You can see it has some content, then text dot annotations. In annotations, we will see file path, then file ID. Once you get the file ID, you can use OpenAI.files.content. You can pass the file ID, then you will get the data here. Then if you do read, you will get the bytes. Then you can write that in some local file. Let's run this. So while it's running, I will show you how to check the other assistants. So if you go through this one, you can go to assistants. So you can see these are the assistants we have created. So today we created 2 assistants. And if you see the travel assistant, you will see we use GPT-4 Turbo model, and you can see all the instructions. Then you can see all the functions. There are 3 functions. Code interpreter is turned on. So this is about the first assistant. Then the second assistant, travel guide, code interpreter is turned on, but we didn't use any functions, which is good. And we use only one file, kyoto.png. That's also there. Then threads. So threads are hidden by default. You will see when you go to settings, organization, it will be hidden by default, but you can enable to organization owners or visible to everyone in your team. Once this is done, you will see a threads section here. Click that. Then here you will see all the threads. So currently our code interpreter is facing some issue, but it will try to fix it itself. So that's what it's happening. It's fixing it, and you will see all the intermediate results. Okay, it says it's completed. Since this is a while loop, we have to wait 30 more seconds. Maybe let me show you this one. Okay, so if everything works well, once that's done, you will see a Word document like this, Kyoto travel guide, and it will explain about the city and each places you are going to visit. Then it will include the map. That's it, but we can also ask it to elaborate few other things if needed, like you can ask it to provide some great restaurants nearby, those kind of things. So once everything is done, you can delete the assistants, because assistants is a bit expensive. If you have so many files, you are paying a few cents every day. Once your assistant is done, you can delete it, which is very important. I hope this session is helpful. You can ask any questions on Slack. Thanks everyone. See you all next week. Bye.